Well, what would Mother's Day be without a Mother's Day story? So the three adult sons were wanting to do something special for their mother on Mother's Day as she was well into her golden years and starting signs of dementia and doing things that were inappropriate. So the first son went out and the largest house he could find on the market he bought and presented to her. And the second son went out and bought her a big, beautiful, expensive car and provided a full-time chauffeur, presented to the mother. The third son, a little more thoughtful, knew that she loved parrots and knew that she was spiritual. So he bought the largest parrot that he could find and taught it to recite Bible verses. About a week later, Mom was having a good day, so she decided to sit down and write the thank you notes. To the first son, she said, "Thank you for this big, beautiful home, but I can't keep up with the cleaning, so I've moved into one room and I'm quite content." To the second son, she said, "Thank you for the car and the driver, but I have no desire to go anywhere, but thank you. Love, Mom." For the third son, she said, "Your gift was absolutely perfect for me. It serves me so well. Thank you so much. Love, Mom." P.S. That was the best chicken I've ever had. Human behavior is endlessly fascinating to me. How is it possible that we can look at something, for example, and not always see all that we see? In actuality, it's a reality of life, and we are all guilty of it at some time or another. I recently added another book to my library that actually describes what inattentional blindness is. In lay terms, it means that it refers to people who fail to perceive all things that are hidden in plain view. The book was written by two experimental psychologists who were exploring the notion of perceptual blindness. After many study groups and gathering of information, their final conclusion was that our ability to see and comprehend at a maximum capacity is only achieved when we invest maximum attention to what is actually before us. Have you ever been on a computer and logging in and you get the message, wrong password, wrong username? Because we're thinking of something else. Have you tried texting and driving? Does that work for anybody? Do you recall where the AED machine is, the defibrillator that's mounted on the wall here in the church? You probably pass by it every time you come to the sanctuary. I was particularly wild with one of the studies performed in the book that was referred to as the invisible gorilla. The invisible, can you imagine? The psychologist gathered a group of participants in a room and asked them to watch a video of people passing basketballs and requested that they count the number of passes to one team. Well, that's simple. During the video, a person in a gorilla suit walked back and forth throughout the video. Oddly enough, at the end of the video, when they were discussing the number of passes and what the observers saw, they asked, "What did you think of the gorilla?" And the majority of the participants answered, "What gorilla?" What gorilla? What are you talking about? Inattentional blindness surrounds us in every day in a variety of manifestations. It is not as rare as you might think. See how it is so. As we celebrate Mother's Day, have you ever noticed that the Disney characters, especially Disney princesses, rarely have mothers? Their mothers have either died, have gone missing, or otherwise unaccounted for. Ariel didn't have one. Cinderella didn't have one, except for fairy godmother and stepmothers are excluded. In the movie Frozen, the mother and father of Elsa and Anna were dying at the beginning of the movie. All of this hidden in plain view. Now, this past week, we've seen the Cardinals gather at the Sistine Chapel. And you've probably seen pictures of that beautiful chapel, the Pope's Chapel. A rather ironic situation was evident just 68 feet above their heads. And that's where Michelangelo underestimated and overperformed depicting the scenes from the Old Testament up above in the chapel. One block in particular shows God during the creation, creating the moon and the sun and the plants. And you could see him in motion. His back is to the viewer, and he's in motion and orchestrating the process. And at some point in the drawing, Michelangelo drew God with his back turned towards the viewer, and his loosely fitted robe leans all the way to one side, and on full display to the world was a divine behind, hidden in plain view. How about forgotten baby syndrome? Have you ever heard of that? A parent who leaves their child in the back seat and goes into work or goes shopping. Hidden in plain view. Tom Garvey was a veteran trying to get back on his feet, and he was excited when he was hired as a concession stand at the now demolished Veteran Stadium in Philadelphia. He was given keys to the stadium, and on one particular day, he discovered an abandoned concession stand within the building. He quickly installed a wall of cardboard boxes so that when you opened the door, all you saw were boxes and no one would be suspicious. But behind the boxes, there was a bed, a living area, basic appliances, and AstroTurf. He used the bathrooms in the stadium concourse and employee showers in the basement, and he admitted it was everything a guy could want. He lived there for over a year before the stadium was destroyed, and he was hidden in plain view. Many of you have heard the name of the famous artist Edward Munch, a modern poet of philosophy and painting. Kind of a strange character he was, always passionately emotional in his creations, and probably his most famous drawing or painting was The Scream. At first glance, one sees the obvious picture, portraying a person in an alarming stance in fearful scream. Looking much closer, all but invisible to the naked eye, is a very small handwritten script written in pencil and translated from German, which read, "Could only have been painted by a madman." Hidden in plain view. And finally, we're taught early on that when we look people straight in the eyes, that it's a sense of honesty and trust and certainly believability. Marketing people have picked up on that, and when you go to the grocery store, you'll notice the characters on the cereal boxes are presented in a certain way. The cereal boxes targeting the children are positioned downward 9.6 degrees, while the characters in the adult boxes look straight ahead. All the hopes of marketing their product appear more genuine, believable, and sellable, hidden in plain view. Would you pray with me? Lord God, hear our prayer as we have eyes to see, but all too often we do not. In our journey of life, so many hidden things elude our attention and understanding, which results in missed opportunities. We seek you, Lord, to open our eyes and reveal the hidden truths and the wonders of life. We recognize you as Lord, as the revealer of all things concealed. Shine your light on the history, mysteries of life. Remove the veil of darkness and the spiritual cataracts that blur our vision, and reveal to us in living color the hidden riches that lie in our everyday world. Grant us your unending grace to discern these wondrous opportunities concealed within life's challenges as we put our hope and faith in you this day. Amen. Like most colleges and universities, there's a pressure to perform and maintain a balance between social and academic pressures. Princeton University is certainly no exception, except for the fact something very unusual and unexpected took place there just a few years ago. Kyle Berlin was his name at the time he was a student, closing in on graduating from Princeton, and had been chosen as the valedictorian. He knew very well the stress and academic fortitude necessary to complete his mission and push through even the most demanding of classes. At graduation, he maintained one of the oldest traditions at Princeton. He presented his valedictorian speech in Latin. During his time at school, he paid particular attention to the number of students making their way to the infirmary in an effort to get medicinal relief from the stress and anxiety of the academic pressures. He was hoping for a better way of processing that stress and maybe create a more user-friendly solution to that problem. He thought to himself, what if we were, number one, not in excellence, with all this disciplinarian and egotistic undertones, but if we were, number one, in compassionate listening or repeated forgiveness? Matt Weiner, the dean of the Office of Religious Life, and Kyle began reflecting together on this situation in numerous conversations over time. The problem was obvious. The solution, not so much. What was needed was a way to show more understanding and compassion on behalf of the self-inflicted stress the students were experiencing. What if an atmosphere of connectedness and genuine support systems could be generated in some way? Serendipitously, the strange but true story became the reality one day in a place few would ever have suspected. The back side of the desert, in this case, was the dining area where students gathered 3 times a day for meals. The genesis of this movement seemingly started with a worker by the name of Cataline Lopez. She was a mother of 5 kids and someone who understood students had parents that were far away and were often lonely and depressed. As a mother, she understood the need for a smile and a one-on-one connection with the students. And two, as a mother, the manner of embracing and reading students came easy for her. The students would file in, confirm their meal pass, and Cataline would immediately begin treating the students just like one of her own. It all started, first of all, by learning their name, and then engaging each individually with a relevant and genuine concern. How was your exam today? Great game last night. I'm so proud of what you're doing. Keep up the good work. That outfit serves you well. Day after day, Cataline generated warmth and engaged with the students individually. And Kyle thought, Eureka! Something was unfolding in the dining room that was different, yet very real. Cataline never got tired of touching the lives of students in need of a compliment, a greeting, or a word of praise. It was then that somehow she was given the well-earned title of Princeton's hidden chaplain in plain view. Well, the story doesn't end there. There were others. Kindness always has a way of spreading. Thomas Stallone had worked from being a pot scrubber to being a cook at the university kitchen. And on occasion, he too would verify the meal cards for the students. He would tell you, I don't have kids of my own, so my work makes me feel important. A custodian at the library was yet another. She admitted she could not work without saying hi and be on the lookout for students around her. And then Mia, she was the barista at the library cafe. The students, because they are the ones who pay our checks, she admitted. The best way to describe this event that was taking place theologically is the Greek word dynamos, which literally means a strong explosion coming from within and going out. We get our word dynamite from dynamos. It soon became an explosion of glorious acts of caring throughout the campus that soon generated a new tradition on the campus that was full of old traditions. Taking note on the situation happening all over the campus, Kyle and the dean convinced further, and an idea bubbled up in a way to perhaps enhance this notion of hidden chaplain. What if we could make it bigger than just a few people? Together, they agreed to print postcards and distribute them throughout the campus. The postcard asked only one question: who is your hidden chaplain? Responses flooded in hundreds of students. Returns names of people making a difference on campus. Beyond the dining room workers were the custodians and the office staff and maintenance and groundkeepers, all potential hidden chaplains just in plain view. The honorary title of hidden chaplain became iconic campus-wide and carried with it a sense of pride in caring. There were no special badges or uniforms or markings to identify these individuals, just pure empowerment focused on the lives of the students. Each person had within them a talent that was natural and a calling students by their name, giving a smile, a handshake, a word of encouragement, or just a big hearty wave. There was only one simple mandate that was required, and that was professors and administrators were excluded from this movement. This was a ground mission for the ordinary folk who chose to engage and offer In a small, positive tone, a glorious act of caring that became more rare than common. What made this unique commitment so powerful was that the hidden chaplains took a conscientious perception and gave it full throttle attention. These common folk hidden chaplains were everyday people who discovered serendipitously that a word was the most powerful vehicle they had to offer another human being. Wisely, they chose to use words such as congratulations, attaboy, knew you could do it, proud of you, to empower the students. How many of you have experienced hidden chaplains in your life? I know for a fact I would not be standing before you if not for the hundreds of hidden chaplains in my life. When we go out to lunch and we encounter a waitress or a person behind the deli or a neighbor, the pizza delivery person, the Amazon driver, a policeman, or service repairman, we must ask ourselves the question, could this be an opportunity for me to be a hidden chaplain in plain view? You might be surprised. Ignore color, race, IQ, how tall they are, or how short, male, female. Folks, they are all God's people. And each have their own story and deserving of a genuine greeting. How different might the world be if we took the effort to learn the names of people that we come into contact with, and more importantly, use the name. Most people in the service industry wear a badge with their name on it for a reason. It wants to be used. Recently, Mrs. Blaker and I and the Lewis family went out to lunch. Our waitress name was Kat, and once we learned that name, Kat went around to the table to each one of us, individually, and said, "What is your name? What is your name?" And when we told her our names, she repeated it. And then the rest of the time that she was serving our table, she intentionally used that person's name in serving them at the mealtime. You know, kindness is contagious, and it doesn't take long for it to do so. When we begin using people's names and offer a compliment, a pat on the back, a moment of recognition, it makes people feel good. Look them in the eyes. Connect with them, if but for just a moment. The rules of engaging as a hidden chaplain are quite simple. You hear it every Sunday in church. Be Christ-like. Instead of anger, fault, or indifference, might we offer kindness and compassion? In place of acting selfishly, might we find ways of giving recognition and affirmation? Allow humbleness to replace pride. Cancel rudeness with an outreached hand. Ignore wrongdoing and stand ready to forgive. The strength equal to a steel cable can be found in a single word or unexpected gesture. For some people, the way of Jesus is countercultural. To be in sync with the values of being Christian is to be out of sync with the prevailing ethos. Only in a self-centered world does anger and fear and frustration, self-entitlement, ridicule, and rudeness stir the rancor of the world. Sadly, unpredictable times will always create unpredictable people. Contentious times provoke some to forget the intrinsic links we have with one another as faith followers. Forgive us, Lord, lest we forget the common good of others. Today, Hidden Chaplains is an exercise developed by the Office of Religious Life at Princeton to help common folk notice and appreciate compassion around them. Our passage today helps us better understand what is hidden in plain sight when we commit to the way of Jesus. A few verses prior to the reading, Paul introduces a clothing metaphor to describe the transformation. He says that we must strip off the old self, which is characterized by anger, wrath, malice, slander, abuse of language, and lying, so that we can clothe ourselves with a new self. Paul subscribes that we strip off the foul-smelling clothes of indifference and replace them with the attractive attire of mercy and compassion. Paul writes, "Clothe yourselves with compassion and kindness and meekness and patience. Bear with one another, and if anyone has a complaint to another, forgive them, just as the Lord has forgiven you, and above all, clothe yourselves with love." Paul is shining a light in the way to help us better understand and comprehend the attitudes and actions that characterize a true Christian. My wife and I subscribe to the notion that church begins at the home in the manner in which we treat our neighbors. Our home serves as a base camp for faith of our ministry. We've been known to have backyard gatherings, prepare a meal when a neighbor is ill, share vegetables or fresh flowers from our garden, invite neighbors into our home for a home-cooked meal, and each year my wife has a canning party with neighbors, and everyone benefits with the final results. At Christmas, we literally go door to door with a little gift for our neighbors and tell them how much we appreciate them being a good neighbor. To mow a neighbor's yard while they're on vacation, that's pure joy. One, I like zero-turn mower, so that makes it easy. How might we all better respond to our neighbors and strangers and complainers, and oh yes, even our enemies? Might they too be in need of a hidden chaplain? Paul suggests we strip off the old and clothe ourselves with compassion. It is easy for many to weaken and say, "What's the use?" and surrender to the mean-spiritedness that is on the rise. It is vital that we not give in to feelings of helplessness. We must do what we can every single day, where we are, to the best of our abilities. At the invitation of Donald Danforth, I was able to attend a leadership institute for several years, and I vividly remember the motto of the leadership institution: my own self at my very best at all times. Brian Doyle, editor of a university publication, writes, "You cannot order or command anything. You cannot fix or repair everything. All you can do is face the world with grace and hope that you make a sliver of difference. You must trust that being the very good you matters." Being an attentive and generous friend and citizen will somehow matter in the social fabric, and you must do all this with the knowledge that you will never get proper credit, not one nary bit. The vast majority of things that you do right will go utterly unmarked. Having spent many years working in elderly care, I vividly recall a uniquely spirited, devoted lady who committed one day a week going into the nursing home and playing the piano. Always a few minutes early, having time to come in and sign in and greet the staff, she immediately went to the recreation room where an old, upright, slightly out of tune piano awaited her. A handful of students were sitting waiting for her arrival, and as soon as her fingers hit the keys, you could see the residents lift their heads, eyes became full-fledged, and they started to unwind like a Duracell bunny. Their hands had newfound life in them, keeping up with the beat as best their arthritis would allow on that particular day. This was a highlight of their week in a world for them filled with mundane. The range of music of songs were played were big band era marches, church hymns, of course, African American spirituals, and even a few Beatles songs. Their spirits were lifted, and for 60 minutes, they all but forgot their ailments, their body aches, their loneliness, and their aching bodies. They acted like 20-year-olds at a school dance on a Saturday night. They hooted and hollered like an old-time Pentecostal tent revival on a Friday night. The piano lady knew very much what she was doing, but what she didn't realize was that she was a messenger from God and a true hidden chaplain in plain view. She became a conduit of God's healing love, filling the residents with hope and joy, and she filled the room with renewed hope and offered each person present a moment of the past. The call to serve as a hidden chaplain is before you. Prepare yourself and here and now to become the best of things in the worst of time for all of God's people waiting for you on the backside of the desert. Amen.